All right, let's just jump right in. We're all hearing about artificial intelligence constantly, right? But it's not some far off concept anymore. It's actually becoming a core part of the software development lifecycle. I mean, from writing that very first line of code all the way to deployment, AI is showing up as this incredibly powerful partner. And today, we're going to break down exactly what that looks like. If you're a developer, you know this feeling. Those endless hours hunting down a single typo, trying to make sure everyone on the team is following the same coding standards, or just digging through logs trying to pinpoint a bug. It's important stuff for sure, but man, it is such a drain on your time and your focus. So what if that could all change? And that's exactly where AI comes into the picture. Now, the key thing to get right away is that this isn't about replacing developers, not at all. Think of it more like giving every developer a Copilot, a super smart assistant that just handles the boring, repetitive work so that we can all get back to focusing on the big, creative, complex problems. You know, the stuff we actually enjoy doing. So let's start at one of the most critical stages, the code review. This is often a huge bottleneck, but it's also one of the first places AI is making a massive difference, acting like an automated first line of defense that catches problems before anyone else even sees them. So how does this actually work? Well, AI code reviewers are built on machine learning models that have been trained on unbelievable amounts of open source code. They've learned the patterns, the best practices, and yeah, all the common mistakes we all make. So when they scan your code, they're not just checking off a simple list of rules. They're using this deep understanding to analyze your work and give you some genuinely smart feedback. And the benefits here are pretty much immediate. By automating that first review pass, the AI can instantly spot things like syntax errors or style issues. It can even suggest ways to make your code run faster. And because this feedback happens almost in real time, developers aren't constantly switching back and forth. This frees up the human reviewers to focus on what really matters, the big picture stuff like the architecture and the business logic behind the code. Okay, so we've covered code quality, but let's raise the stakes a bit and talk about something even more critical, security. In this area, AI is becoming this essential security guard that's not just finding weak spots, but in some cases, it's actually fixing them automatically. You know, a huge piece of this puzzle is finding secrets that get accidentally left in the code. We're talking about things like API keys, passwords, authentication tokens, basically the digital keys to the kingdom. If a bad actor gets their hands on one of those, it could be game over. So finding them is a massive priority. And this isn't just a cool idea. It's already happening. Google, for instance, is using a really sophisticated AI-powered pipeline that automates the entire process of finding and fixing security bugs that their own internal tools discover. Here's a breakdown of how it works. First, the pipeline spots a bug and figures out exactly which piece of code is the problem. Then, here comes the magic. It uses a large language model to actually generate a fix. That new code is then tested automatically. And if it passes all the checks, the whole thing gets bundled up and sent over to a human engineer for that final stamp of approval. So the big question is, does this actually work in the real world? Well, Google's model successfully fixed 15% of the security bugs it was pointed at. Now, I know 15% might not sound like a crazy high number at first glance, but think about Google's scale. That's hundreds of vulnerabilities patched automatically. That's not just saving months of engineering time. It's a fundamental shift. Instead of security issues piling up, you have a system that is actively making you safer 24/7. Okay, so AI is reviewing our code and securing it. What about actually deploying it? Let's get into the heart of modern software development, the CI/CD pipeline, and see how AI is making it a whole lot smarter. You see, one of the biggest roadblocks for using AI in automation has always been its output. LMMs, they just tend to give you back this free-form, unstructured text. And for an automated script, that's a total nightmare. How are you supposed to parse it? How can you make a decision based on that? It's just not reliable enough. The solution? You have to force the AI to speak the language of automation, which is structured data. By giving the LLM a predefined JSON schema, you can basically force its output into a perfectly predictable format every single time. Suddenly, that messy text becomes clean, parsable data that your CI/CD pipeline can actually work with. And once you have that reliable, structured data, a whole new universe of automation opens up. You could have an AI automatically write your pull request summaries, or intelligently classify new bug reports with priority labels, or even write perfectly formatted release notes just from a list of recent changes. This is what turns AI from just a text generator into a true automation engine. All right, let's zoom out one more time. We've gone from a single line of code to the pipeline. But what about the long-term health of an entire massive code repository? How can AI help there? So, how does an AI even begin to figure out the best maintenance task to run at any given moment on a huge code base? I mean, it's a super complex problem with tons of variables. Well, the answer actually comes from a technique used to train AIs to play complex games: reinforcement learning. You can kind of think of it like training a pet. The AI agent looks at the state of the repository, how big it is, how many files, that sort of thing. Then it tries an action, like running a git gc command to clean things up. Then it checks the result. Did clone speeds get better? If they did, it gets a reward. If not, it gets a penalty. And over thousands and thousands of these little cycles, it just learns what actions lead to the best results in any situation. So we've seen AI as a code reviewer, a security guard, a pipeline automator, and when you put it all together, you start to see the big picture. All of these roles point back to one really crucial idea about what the future of development is going to look like. This quote from GitHub just hits the nail on the head. AI isn't a replacement for developers, it's a productivity multiplier. Its whole purpose is to handle the scale, the speed, and the repetitive stuff that really bogs us down, freeing us up to focus on the problems that only humans can solve. It's truly a partnership when you think about it. AI is amazing at spotting patterns across millions of lines of code in seconds. But humans, we're amazing at understanding the business context, the creative nuance, and the long-term vision behind all that code. One just isn't complete without the other. So as AI starts to take over more and more of the routine work, the bug hunts, the security scans, tweaking the pipelines, it leaves us with this really interesting question. With all that time and mental energy you get back, what are the bigger, more complex, more innovative problems that you're going to solve next?